Alaman niyo.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight, and I am DM Foss. So we're gonna stall for a little bit, see if anybody else joins in. But good evening to everyone. We'll take a quick look, see who was out there so far. Kingpin was out there earlier. Krabby Turtle, Gunpowder Beauty, DJ Play Nice, Gun Websites, Vulcan Rumble. Good evening, everybody. Oh, yeah, thank you, DJ. We'll get our banner going. So at the bottom of the screen, there is an email and a link that'll get you somewhere. You can send in comments, suggestions, or pictures within reason. Untacticalfoss@gmail.com. And I think I saw Hillbilly Up say hello to everyone out there. And Vulcan Rumbles telling me everything's looking good. I appreciate that. Yeah, while I was listening to Hillbilly's chat, I was trying to get ready. I'm supposed to go to the range in the morning. And so I wanted to oil up one of my ARs, and I couldn't find my cleaning kit. I forgot where I had put it. So I spent half an hour looking, and it turned out there's a bin over there that it was in, but I thought the bin was empty because it was one that I don't use anymore. I had switched to different sorts of bins, but found it. So loaded up some 450 Bushmaster and some 300 Blackout, some subsonic 300 Blackout. We'll do some quiet shooting in the morning. But I hope everyone is doing well. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out. I always appreciate the comments. I read all of them. And Gun Websites is with us. How you doing tonight? If you're saying something, I can't hear you. Maybe some technical difficulties. Is there? I had your picture for just a second, and then now it's kind of a blank icon. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Sorry, I had my volume all down because I got it back now.
Oh, okay. So you're
you're already
back
live?
home?
No, I got sick. I'm still in Vegas.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, right as I was gonna check out, I got like food poisoning, and then stayed another day. I think I'm all right now, but yeah, I'm coming out of it.
That's good. Some
But otherwise,
undercooked
you're already
zucchini.
live. Huh?
Some undercooked zucchini.
Oh, I don't know, but probably just different foods or something. Eat food that I found on the street. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. It's free though. It's a lot cheaper than paying for it. So what's
So
today? I haven't been watching any kind of testimonies or anything. What are we? Is this like testimonies or is this bills that are?
yeah, I was going to go through. I cut out some of the testimonies from the hearing that was back on the 16th in here in Washington.
Okay.
There were 5 bills that they. It's kind of crazy for them to try and do 5 bills in one session like that, because they started out where everyone had 90 seconds, and then they ended up like the last 2 bills, they cut it down to 60 seconds for a comment. Treads out there. Good evening. But so I went through and I cut a few of them out for I think 3 of the bills. Ones that I thought were good, and then there's a couple of the. It starts off with a couple of the anti-gun types, but figured we'll go through, look at them, and kind of discuss um, the way they're presented. Because the ones that I picked, other than the 2 antis, were ones that I thought they did well. The way they presented it, and I thought they were good examples of how to bring an argument.
And then what was this for? What are they debating? I guess
There was
bad law.
1902, which is a permit to purchase. HB 1903, which is reporting lost or stolen firearms within 24 hours. Currently, it's 5 days. 2018 is regulations on FFLs, how they have to store things, 24-hour surveillance, stuff like that. And one of them was currently the State Patrol, if they do a buyback or I'm not sure if it applies to evidence guns that aren't claimed, but the State Patrol will sell them and they're not allowed to destroy them. Some of the municipalities, police departments can destroy them, but the State Patrol is not allowed to, and this would allow them to destroy them if they chose to. That one, I didn't do anything on that one. It's not the infringement that the other ones are, so I'm kind of concentrating on the others.
That's messed up because in Arizona they did one buyback in the whole state of Arizona, and Arizona Citizens Defense League. This was back in like 16, maybe. Like they did one buyback in Tucson, and Arizona passed a law that said you can't even do buybacks, and we've already had a law that guns can't be destroyed; they have to be sold. So that's the difference between states for sure.
And there was one more which I can't think of right now. What the other one was. But so I thought we'd go through and look at them. The two anti-gun ones.
18-year-olds again, or did you guys already lose rights for 18-year-olds?
Oh, we already did. That was in 1639.
Okay.
But we'll look at two of the anti-gun ones just to kind of look at what their argument is and the fallacies in their argument, and then look at the ones against these bills. Like I said, there were ones that I thought did a good job. Um, so we can kind of look at that. Just trying to think if there was anything else I needed to cover before we get into it.
You got your banner going?
Yep. DJ reminded
Uh,
me.
Is there going to be a bracket then for these testimonials?
Probably not. And Hillbilly Up. Can't remember if I said hey to you, but hey. And Mike McLuhan's out there. I think I've caught everybody so far.
So this is my Mint Mobile, just straight raw internet. So it's working okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, everything looks great.
Right.
So you're a disciple of Ryan Reynolds now?
I guess so. He doesn't do nothing on the marketing, but no, it was mostly the Combat Story podcast had a affiliate link, and I wanted a second carrier up here, which I'm glad I did because like the one phone wouldn't work in the garage, this one would, and some things wouldn't work with this one, but the other one would, so it worked out pretty good. But I just wanted to support that podcast by using their affiliate link, and it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But I think I'll keep it. But the marketing was nothing with that guy. It was just, whatever we're better internet or we're cheap or whatever. But then when I posted something on Instagram about it, they went, "Hey, we're going to send you free stuff." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then, like I say, it's been working pretty good. Knock on wood.
All the commercials I've seen for Mint Mobile are him talking about how they're not going to spend a lot of money on advertising so they can save people money.
Yeah, I mean it's $35 a week or a month, and it's just as good as my others. I can tell so far.
Yeah, because basically they just pay another carrier to use their system.
Yeah, wholesale the lines or whatever.
Yeah. Baron SVG's out there. Good evening, Baron. X Adam 1. So let me get the video. The right one. There we go. So there's sections like this just to remind me of who was talking and then what bills, and then give me a pause point if we're going to discuss anything. But so the first one is HB 1902, and that's the permit to purchase. So you have to be pre-approved so you can go to the FFL to do a background check on what you were already approved on. So, yeah. And Trudy Inslee is the wife of the governor. She's been at the last couple hearings. I'm talking, but the sponsor of the bill wasn't there, so she's kind of filling as a sponsor. When they read the bills, there'll be I don't know what position it is, but somebody will kind of read the bill and do a quick synopsis of what the bill is, and then the sponsor will kind of say what the bill is and what it's supposed to achieve. And
No, is she like a lawyer or is she just famous or like why is she the one taking over for the guy?
I don't know, just the governor's wife. So,
but she's not also a representative or anything.
No. So we'll listen to her talk.
I don't think I'm hearing it. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Or the cord unplugged or something.
Oh, can you not hear it?
No, I hear silence,
Oh,
but I'm on the
sorry.
phone. But then in the
No,
chat,
no, well, I think, yeah, people out there in the chat are saying no volume. Let me try this again. Let me take it
did
off.
they ask you for the volume also, or just this page?
Also share tab audio.
There you go.
So, oh, I see what it is. If I, no, I might have to try to do this differently. Sorry. If I share it as a tab, it gives me that option. If I share it as a window, it does not give me that option. So hang on, there's some technical difficulties, which are my fault. Let me get out of here. Let me try dragging the clip up and if I can get it into a window here. Oh, just a moment. Let me bring it up. There we go. And then I'm gonna do that there. And then let me move this down here. There we go. All right. And then let me back this up. We almost got it. Almost got it. There we go. I think that'll fix it. Let's try this one more time. Sorry about that, everybody.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for
Now we're good.
legislation. For the record, my name is Trudy Inslee, resident of the 23rd Legislative District, and I am here in support of Representative Berry's bill, House Bill 1902. Since she was not able to be here to give some of the information that you might like, I'd like to add a few things that I originally wasn't going to say, but will hopefully not take too much time. In 2023, the legislature passed a law that requires safety training and a 10-day waiting period for all gun purchases, effective January 1, 2024. HB 1902 would institute a mandatory permitting system that ensures the buyer is qualified and a responsible gun owner. Research has shown permit to purchase, combined with comprehensive background check, is one of the most effective ways to reduce firearm homicides and firearm suicides. In Connecticut, the first state to pass a permit to purchase law in 1995, firearm homicides fell by 28% and firearm suicide rates dropped by 33% over a 22-year period, which I feel is very remarkable. When Missouri repealed its permit to purchase law in 2007, the state's firearm homicide rate increased from 17 to 27% in the following decade, and the suicide rate increased 16% within 5 years. Under HB 1902, a permit application would be submitted to Washington State Patrol. The applicant must also provide a set of fingerprints, proof of in-person firearms training by a certified program, and a permit would be valid for 5 years and could be renewed. And as the staff said, this would be issued within 30 days, approved or declined. Firearm training programs would include live firearm instruction at a shooting range, ensuring that gun buyers are instructed on safe use and handling of a gun, and the Washington State Patrol would be required to certify these programs. So I just feel it is very fitting that we are today looking at legislation, hearing about legislation following our celebration of Martin Luther King Jr. Day yesterday, a person who very much taught us alternate ways to conflict resolution other than violence. He himself was a victim, unfortunately, of gun violence, and I would hope that this legislation would help people take the time necessary to think about what they are doing if they want to have a weapon, to have the waiting period and have the training. I have a grandchild who is 15 and taking driver's ed. I do not want him out driving a car without the training. I would not want him, when he becomes of the age to purchase a firearm, to not have training. I'm not saying he shouldn't be able to have one if he has the training, certification, background check. However, I think this is a very reasonable request. I think it will result in unnecessary loss of life, unnecessary suicide, which often happens to people in a 45-minute period of crisis that they aren't able to run into a store and purchase a gun. So I will again say, sadly, that we all know that we do know the names of the victims of gun violence. We do not know the names of the people that we have saved by preventing gun violence. So I urge you to pass this legislation. Thank you.
That was hard
So-
not to interrupt. It was horrible.
Yeah, she throws out a lot of percentages and statistics, which I have not looked into, but to me
Well,
sound dubious.
it's
Like
obvious that
16% of 25% of, that's kind of meaningless.
Well, in 22 years, it's obvious that only one factor is responsible for a reduction in suicides. And also in another 22 years or whatever she said, the only variable over an entire society or a state is one variable. That's such fake ass science. She should be ridiculed and held accountable for either being a liar or an ignorant, because that's not science. That's nothing. That's just again being a criminal, like that's being a fake, or it's being completely ignorant. But either way, she should be held on that. Like this is something that happened already, and she just gave her presentation, and everybody else gave prepared presentations. Like, do you know if during that day if anyone challenged any of her points?
Yes, there's at least a couple. There's two that are really good, and one specifically addresses a lot of what she talks about. That'll
And then the idea that she knows a lot of times where people in 45 minutes commit suicide by buying a gun. It's ridiculous. Like, go ahead and prove any of that, you liar. Prove one instance of that, you liar.
And with, when she was talking about conflict resolution, so she's kind of saying that the only reason to buy a gun is to, is not for protection, but is if you get in a fight, you're going to use a gun.
Yeah, to be violent, right? Like, as if you can have a rational conversation with someone trying to mug you, rape you, kill you, accidentally murder you, negligently fire on you. You're going to have like let's talk this out and don't accidentally fire on me. Like, it's ridiculous. Or let's talk this out and don't rape me. She's conflating politics. Like, you want to have rational conversations between nation states, yes, but individuals, you don't get to determine from above what the bad person in a situation is gonna, deal with, or what they're gonna. It's ridiculous. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say good evening to the Saint and Optimus Prime Rib. It's a great name. So this next one,
robot that transforms from a prime rib into a meat robot.
It goes to a New York strip. So Jim Parsons, this is another anti-gunner, but I kind of chose his because it shows what basically most of the people who were supporting this bill all kind of are saying what he's saying here. His are really similar arguments for the same reason.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
My name is Jim Parsons. I'm from Bainbridge Island. Tragically, our beautiful daughter, Carrie Parsons, was one of the 58 victims of the Las Vegas mass shooting. Since that devastating day, my wife and I have been strong advocates for common sense gun violence. We thank all of you legislators for your support in banning high-capacity magazines and assault weapons, making our state a safer place. However, there is more work to be done. House Bill 1902, requiring permits to purchase weapons, will make it more difficult for unqualified buyers to acquire firearms. Research shows that permit to purchase laws are effective in preventing the distribution of firearms from in-state retailers to criminal markets. Research also shows that background checks at the point of sale, coupled with a permit to purchase requirement, are associated with lower rates of firearm homicide, suicide, and trafficking. We believe the combination of existing laws, including the background checks and safety training programs, and the proposed permit to purchase bill will provide us a strong deterrent to firearm acquisition by unqualified applicants and provide a much needed extra layer of safety and protection for all Washingtonians. It is critical to catch unqualified buyers at the initial stage of firearm acquisition before the point of sale. This bill will help ensure that process, help curb illegal gun trafficking, and continue to reduce unintended injuries and death. My wife Anne Marie and I are dedicated to actively supporting common sense gun legislation so that other families, parents, and their children can be saved from the tragic events and heartbreak our family endured.
So that's similar to what a lot of the other people who support these bills, their stories, and I do believe that their position is coming from they suffered a tragedy and they have a lot of pain for it, and this is how they believe they can solve the problem. It's
too bad they're not rational enough to accept that if someone had an overdose fatality, that you could just put a proof of purchase to buy drugs, fentanyl, for example.
Yeah.
They just think that these words are somehow going to apply to reality when, they're stopping at the end of their fake research. Research indicates, like some research, obviously your research, you're not going to acknowledge the other research. You're only going to acknowledge your research. Again, fake science. You're not going to actually look at all the data, and then they're either deluding themselves or they're charlatans. I don't give them. They don't get to hide behind your feelings and emotions when you're trying to take away something from somebody else.
Yeah, but for him, I kind of showed it just to show that I don't believe like a lot of the Moms Demand actions. The ones that I've talked to just standing around, just having general conversation, not talking about guns, that they're not evil people. It's not that they want to. Their intent is not to rob you of your right so much as to they think that they honestly believe it's the way to solve a problem. And they, I don't want to say they don't care about the consequences, but the kind of, the constitutional consequences, they don't care about. And then one of the other things that I kind of caught is like the new buzzword seems to be unqualified. The unqualified gun buyer, unqualified this, unqualified that. I heard it a few times in some of the testimonies. So it must be a new term that they're trying to push. And Margaret Helding, she is against it, and I thought hers is a really good one.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to speak in strong support of House Bill 1902, Permit to Purchase.
Oop.
My name is Margaret Heldring. I am the
Sorry, I got her mixed up with somebody else.
founder of Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. Along with many other grandparents, parents, students, and concerned Washington state communities, I came to the urgent work of gun violence prevention a few days after the December 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. At that time, my grandchildren were young school children. Realizing the Sandy Hook children could have been my grandchildren was shocking. They weren't mine, but they were someone's. Grandmother's was shocked into action. The Washington State Legislature, the governor, our attorney general, and the people, citizen activists, have united together to search for solutions to this awful epidemic. Strengthening background checks, ERPO laws, requirements for safe storage and training, age eligibilities, prohibiting open carry in certain places, banning the sale of assault weapons. These are all strategies to keep firearms out of the hands of people who are at risk for harm to self or others, to implement a slow down mechanism between an individual, a firearm, and the deadly impulse to shoot. In our state, one must be licensed to be an auctioneer, a driver training instructor, a telephone solicitor, to practice cosmetology or be a bail bondsman. Every license seeks to protect the public from harm and fraud, to assure competency and accountability. Surely we can all share these aims when it comes to gun and gun violence. We urge passage and thank you.
My best answer to those pleas are that the permitting process for guns and all the other things she mentioned are not punitive. They don't disqualify you unless you prove that you can do it. They simply put parameters on it that enable it, that allow you to do it. So when they conflate what those permitting issues are for and what their bans are, you know, what their prohibitions are, that's again either ignorance or they're lying, and they know the difference, and they're using the words so that they can sweeten it up. Lie.
And the most of the people who testify will testify every time. So, you know, you see the same people again and again. So Sheriff John Knowles, this is a really good one, and he addresses a lot of what has already been said by the anti-gunners.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for hearing me today. I'm John Knowles. I'm the elected sheriff of Spokane County here in the great state of Washington. Some of our panelists earlier spoke about Dr. King. I participated in our march here in Spokane yesterday to honor the memory of Dr. King and all he contributed to this great country. Talking about House Bill 1902, which I am here to testify in opposition to today, I'd like you to imagine a country or a state in which Dr. King, prior to utilizing and taking advantage of his First Amendment right to freedom of speech, would have to get a permit from his government before he goes out and exercises that speech. Where Dr. King would have to go to a training class where the government taught him what was appropriate to speak of and what not to speak of before he could go out and demonstrate. House Bill 1902 is doing exactly that for the Second Amendment here in the United States of America. It should not be taken lightly. I know one of our earlier panelists talked about having to get a license to practice medicine, having a license to be a cosmetologist. Practicing medicine and practicing cosmetology are not constitutional God-given rights. The right to keep and bear arms is, and there's a distinct difference. I would also caution the members of this committee about listening to folks who want to talk about correlational data to what these laws do as opposed to causational data as far as preventing violence. House Bill 1902 will accomplish nothing in making our communities safer, nothing making this state safer. If we want to prevent youth suicide and violence, we need to start having the legislature invest in mental health treatment and substance use treatment. That is legislation that will make a difference in our communities, not violating people's constitutional rights. Thank you.
Nice.
And he covered all the points that needed to be covered.
Quickly with authority and not very well done.
And that's one point where, because he's a sheriff, what he says people will tend to see as authoritative. So they will view his testimony differently
For sure.
than someone who's not law enforcement.
But he has experience. I thought he was going
Yeah.
to say, I was at that rally and I didn't see any of these people who are standing on the, on the efforts of that man. They weren't at his rally. But he didn't say that. That would have been petty, I guess. But yeah, he has it through experience. They have it through feelings. Oh, I heard something on the news about something that happened across the country. So as a grandmother, I decided to start stripping rights. That's what she said.
There was another guy who, I don't remember which bill, but the Pulse nightclub. He talked about the Pulse nightclub, and when he was that in San Francisco, I forget where Pulse was, or Miami, or Florida. So that that was his community, and talked about how it affected him, and so that
and it would be our bad. We would be the ones who are jerks to say, oh, it doesn't matter until it affects your community, until it affects your children, until it affects what you care about. It doesn't matter. Like if it's people in a neighborhood, if it's people of certain, like, whatever you want to say, like occupations, if it's people that are dealing with abuse of substance or being abused, those don't matter. But as soon as it hits something that I'm scared of, now it matters. Like, we'd be the bad ones to call them on that. I guess it's petty, but I don't know if that's a valid point or
not. Telos is out there. Good evening. Telos is someone who has testified at the hearings.
Right on.
And I will say that he has inspired me that I should, since I'm there, I should be testifying also. So someday when I grow some balls, I might testify. So Dave Workman, this is another good one. I believe his is kind of succinct, kind of to the point, and has a good delivery.
My name is Dave Workman. I'm here on behalf of the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms in Bellevue. I'm also a practicing journalist, and guns are my beat. I can only echo what the sheriff just said about the difference between rights and privileges. And frankly, the idea of a permit to purchase and a training requirement, I would remind the panel that this was just declared unconstitutional in Oregon by a judge down there. And I imagine a similar lawsuit will be filed if this thing becomes law, because you're really treading on very thin ice. You're talking about a constitutional right which is protected by both the state and federal constitutions here. And since I am a certified firearms instructor, I know a little bit about that too. There are not enough facilities in this state to provide for the kind of training requirement that you're talking about, nor are there as many instructors as we probably should have. Safety training should be voluntary, and frankly, the state should stay out of that. Meaning no disrespect to the state, but every time the government gets involved in something like this, they mess it up. Thank you.
I don't know, maybe it's just his style that I like. What's that?
I don't like his style. That was actually pretty good. I don't like that guy that much, so that was actually very succinct for him. But people that's I get it. It's appealing to our side, but the other side, they don't care about anything he just said. Like they can ignore all of that. They don't care about rights. They don't care about the Constitution the way we do. They think of it as a pliable or whatever the word is, like thing that can be changed, and it should be. They see it as archaic, and the same way as if you were licking lead paint or something.
So John Nelson, this is another good one. He covers, I think, a lot of good points, and does it does it well.
Good morning, Chair Taylor, Ranking Member Walsh, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is John Nelson, and I am here speaking in strong opposition to House Bill 1902. As a husband, son, father, veteran, and Black man, I find it quite ironic that we are speaking about bills that restrict our civil rights on and around the day where we celebrate the life of Dr. King, who himself was not allowed to own firearms. Firearms ownership is a constitutional right, and this bill is clearly unconstitutional, even though it has been cleverly written not to appear so under the guise of being common sense policy, while lacking any crime statistics to support it or directly address actual criminality. The constitutionality of the ownership of and carrying of firearms continues to be affirmed and reaffirmed by multiple decisions from the Supreme Court. For example, McDonald, Heller, Bruen, etc., and the majority of the lower courts across the United States. House Bill 1902 is in direct defiance of the 2022 Supreme Court decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen.
Right.
It should also be noted that Oregon Ballot Measure 114 and the Maryland pre-purchase licensing agreements have both been recently struck down as unconstitutional. House Bill 1902 follows these same bills' language. The goal of House Bill 1902 is not written to enhance public safety, but rather to make it more burdensome and expensive for law-abiding citizens to exercise their constitutionally protected Second Amendment rights. This is further evidenced by the lack of an exemption for Washington CPL holders. This bill will, let me say that again, this bill will have a detrimental effect on the safety of all Washingtonians, but those negative effects will be far worse for our minority and marginalized communities, especially those women suffering from domestic violence. My wife, daughters, and sisters should be able to legally purchase firearms without having to get a pre-purchasing license before they access an already constitutional and unalienable right. A right delayed is a right denied, and forcing Washingtonians to get permission to access their constitutional rights is both abhorrent and criminal.
Thank you so
Only
very
for
much.
these
Thank you so very
Washingtonians
much
will
for your
lose lives to
testimony.
domestic violence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got to cut him off.
What's that?
They got to cut him off. He's making too much sense. He's making it awesome points, point after point, easy to understand, consumable. Every single one of them. Bam, that was excellent. And he used Hillary Clinton's thing right at him. Right denied is a right. Wait, a right delayed is a right denied. Hillary
Yeah.
did it on that.
Yep. Part of it was they only had 90 seconds. So,
Now, did anybody, you watch the whole thing and chop this out, so thanks for doing that work. Did anybody say there should be a right, you should have to have a permit to get an abortion, some kind of pre-qualifying, blah, 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 to get an abortion? Did
no.
anybody bring that up, or did you think that's too controversial to bring up?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good way to go. That nobody did bring that one up. I think that would. I agree with the sentiment, but I think it would just kind of, you'd end up in a quagmire where
too controversial or whatever, like too
Yeah.
much of a separate issue.
yeah. Jane Milhouse, Hands. This is the one that I was thinking of earlier when I said she was really good, and it turned out to be in one of the anti-gun ones, but hers is another good one.
Hi, I'm Jane Milhouse. I'm from Pierce County. I speak in opposition to House Bill 1902. I'm sitting before you as a survivor of a horrific home invasion by two men. Can you fight two men with your hands? It is a woman's right to protect herself with firearms because it levels the fight between her and her attackers. It gives her a chance to protect her children. Because of this, I became a certified firearm instructor to do something positive. Every year I donate hundreds of hours teaching women how to use personal protection so that they can survive. The firearm, because I donate time, my classes are very affordable. My students are predominantly widows between the age of 60 and 90, many on fixed incomes. I have single moms. And firearm courses in the Puget Sound run about 100 to 150 an hour. That's very unattainable for the most vulnerable that we're trying to protect. These are the people that are victims of crime. And yet we have to ask permission from you to purchase personal protection. This law does nothing to address the people that actually commit the crimes. How are you going to instill this law in people who collect from the black market, drug deals, straw purchases, and other illegal means. It was ineffective. This bill also, with the permit, is a type of gun registry and is subject to public disclosure inspections according to the Washington State Attorney General's office. Women feel violated because her information will be made public. So I just ask that you please punish criminals and not us law-abiding women who just want the ability to protect ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was epic.
She did a good job. You know, she's not screaming or anything like that. You know, made good points and explained her position.
For your comments, we have a question from the panel.
And then I wanted to show this because the question that she's asked, the Representative Graham, this is absolutely asinine the way she starts this question.
Representative Graham.
Thank you, Chair Taylor, and thank you for your testimony. I'm curious to get your opinion with the border being open and having so many people coming across the border, obviously guns, drugs, trafficking, how you feel about the possibility of, again, being a woman and in the day of carjackings and violent crime that's going on. Do you see it as concerning that this permitting process, that we may not have enough workers to be able to process these in a timely manner, and that there may be somebody that could be harmed or killed as a result?
Yes, I very much do believe that women are at great risk. One of the things the sheriff in Pierce County told me was that a lot of these firearms being purchased by illegal means are being purchased by minors. Again, in this bill, nothing addresses that. Nothing addresses the non-citizen getting guns through illegal means. So this bill clearly looks at just attacking us law-abiding citizens, making women ask permission for the ability to protect themselves and their children, which is just horrible. I hope none of you have to be involved in a home invasion. I have nightmares.
Thank you so much.
So I thought that was a terrible question, asked in a bad way, and she handled it very well, gave a very good answer to it. The whole border thing, especially for us, we're at the top of the U.S. If we were kind of down where you live or Texas, maybe, but that just brings in something that shouldn't be in the conversation, really, at least not shaped that way.
In my opinion, she meant the filthy Canadians that just run rampant across the border.
And most of the time when the representatives will ask a question, they're basically making a statement that they wanted to say, but they have to ask whoever is testifying a question, and then that the totality of that equals a statement by them. Mr. Bob Dabalina is out there. Good evening. And Abeen Klein, she's the Washington director for the NRA for Washington State. She testifies at all the hearings. She does an okay job. I really don't like her delivery. We'll watch it and then we can talk about it.
Good morning. Aveen Klein, State Director for the NRA in opposition to House Bill 1903. The proponents of this bill claim that gun thefts often result in firearms being channeled into an underground market, where they can easily fall into the hands of those intent on causing harm. Therefore, the underlying premise of this bill is fatally flawed. First, the theft of a firearm is already illegal. Second, channeling firearms into an underground market is also already illegal. Current law already requires that if a prohibited person accesses a firearm from unlawful entry, the unauthorized access or theft of the firearm must be reported to local law enforcement within 5 days. Why does this bill propose to change the time from 5 days to 24 hours? There is no indication that this time would prevent any further unlawful activity. ATF data shows that the time to crime from obtaining a firearm to commission of the crime in Washington is 8.34 years. Nationally, it's 6.3. This bill misplaces the liability for criminal actions on victims of crime, not the criminal. Imagine being robbed and getting slapped with a bewildering $1,000 fine. There are plenty of reasons a victim may not report within 24 hours, from trauma to accounting for other goods, assessing the damage, or lack of clarity on where to report. Criminals don't obey the law. It's time for Washington to stop penalizing and further tracking law-abiding citizens just for being gun owners. For these reasons, I urge your opposition to 1903. Thank you.
I mean, the information she gives is fine. She just does not do a good job of presenting it. She's kind of,
robot.
yeah. If we want to get real geeky about it, she does some of the good things that a good presenter does. If you watch her, she'll look up, make eye contact, who she's talking to, look at the people. If you're going to give a speech, look at the audience. You don't have to look at any one specific person. That can be a little distracting for you, but you kind of scan the crowd so that they feel like they're involved in what you're doing. And she does some of that, which was good. But the way when she's talking, it's just kind of procedural, where it's, like you were saying, kind of robotic. And
So the question is, she said she does a lot of testimonials. Is she always like that, or was this different, like she's sick or something?
it all sounds exactly the same, just like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then that's bad style. And that's super tone deaf for the NRA, who already has to battle the idea that they're just a monolith, giant lobby organization for the industry. That totally sounded like an industry lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Reading off stuff. Which is not necessary, because she's probably capable of changing her delivery, because everything, like you said, everything she said was dead on.
Brian Keelan, I liked him too. He's a lot like the other guy that you didn't like.
Wortman.
Yeah.
For taking my comments. My name is Brian Keelan. I'm a retiree living here in the city of Olympia. I am representing the Washington State Rifle and Pistol Association and the Tacoma Rifle and Revolver Club of University Place. The WSRPA's mission is to foster and support the shooting sports in Washington State, and we sanction and schedule championships in pistol, rifle, small bore, and air rifle disciplines. We support junior programs around the state, as does the Tacoma Rifle and Revolver Club. We urge your vote against 1903 for the following reasons. House Bill 1903 will do nothing to promote gun safety, and no one on this committee has offered any information to suggest that this is the case. And I believe if this law is passed, it would be used against poor people and minorities more than it would be on the middle class. The fiscal impact of this bill has not been given any research, so we don't know what it would cost. We recommend that if you want to control firearm theft, you increase jail time for these crimes and jail the lawbreakers. Please do not put the onus of these crimes on those that are legal, law-abiding firearm owners that have had their firearms stolen. Thank you.
I guess wasn't quite as Wilford Brimley as the other guy, but
I like this guy. Well, Workman. First off, he's yelling at everybody. He's always argumentative, like confrontative or whatever, and I don't like that. But he's usually super boring. He usually talks forever.
And this one, like you say, he was really good. This one, though, I think this guy was more like just trying. I mean, first off, he's going to be disregarded because he's coming from a gun club, and they see that as industry, paid off by industry. Assume so. I don't think they're listening to it, but I do think his points are valid.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I think that these testimonials are useful, and covering them like this is useful because we gain we learn better ways or new ways to have these conversations, right? So even though they may or may not have been effective in that room with those representatives, we learn, more inventory for our conversations.
We have Austin Harlan for HB 2118, which dealt with the FFLs and expanding their requirements, like the way stuff is stored. There's a bunch about background checks on employees and 24-hour surveillance, and they have to keep all those recordings for like 5 years. So kind of expensive and a lot of terabytes of information to store. Now, Austin Harlan, he's I can't remember if it's he'll mention it when he's talking, but either gun shop or a range owner. I think range owner. And I've seen him a couple times at the hearings, and I talked to him just really briefly once. But I debated whether to show this one or not because there's some stuff he'll talk about that kind of happened to him like right before he's leading up to the hearings, and his testimony gets weird at the end. But we'll go ahead and play it.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me back. My name is Austin Harlan. I am the owner of The Range in Yakima, and I am a board member of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm a bit surprised that we are back here so quickly with a number of laws just going into effect a couple weeks ago. I would think that we would want to see how those play out before we start adding more things. I had an entire speech planned for this, but I had an experience last night that made me change my thought process. I pulled into Safeway last night. We were going to get some snacks for the hotel, and there was a lady sitting there in her car slamming heroin by herself, without her kids, without her family, all by herself. Do you know the pain and turmoil that it takes for somebody to end up there by themselves, running from their kids just to feel again? I do. My mother did. She committed suicide after her 4th attempt. She shot herself. Her final attempt was death by overdose. My business partner and friend committed suicide last week. Do I blame the gun? Absolutely not. It's a tool. We are the problem. We are the problem. We must look at ourselves and change the behavior that is leading to the death and destruction that you see on the streets. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, people. Come on. The gun has nothing to fucking do with it. Sorry for my language. We must look at ourselves and change our behavior. Happiness. Your red tie makes you look very strong and confident. Your earrings are very beautiful with your outfit, and your hair and your skin tone is very beautiful. Spread happiness, spread joy, give people life. Stop talking about the gun. The gun doesn't mean anything. Stop violence.
Thank you.
So
We can't handle anything that's emotionally driven coming from the other side.
Within what he's saying, there's good stuff in there, but he kind of loses, I don't.
It's like abstract. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's not, it's not a narrative, but I think that was cool. Like if they can't handle that, that's all of what they claim to be about is the idea of raw emotion. Well, there's raw emotion.
And I don't want to, the fact that he still came and testified, is great and awesome. With maybe just a little more, if there was a little more time between what had basically just happened and his testimony, then his thought process might have been a little clearer through it. And
Well, I don't disagree. I just think that I don't think we're allowed to be upset and emotional
yeah,
too, right? And
yeah,
because he's getting across the real stuff, and that's what they're dodging. That's what they don't approve. The other side, the side that says guns are the only issue, are ignoring or they're taking for granted the safety that guns provide. That so many criminals never become or so many potential criminals never choose that line of work because they know there's a lethal consequence to those actions. They don't realize if you magically take away a lethal result to crime, then criminals are going to go rampant. We see that in other countries where they prohibit good people from defending themselves. Bad people it just becomes normal to have robberies where they take your money. You're supposed
yeah.
to just stand. It's culturally acceptable to stand there and be robbed, right? Like that's messed up. They want to go towards that. But anyway, I'm gonna take it.
No, I understand. I think his point was the one. I don't want to say problem, but his point was a little muddled because of the emotion with,
No, I hear
a
you.
little.
But I think well, I mean, I don't know. Are these all from the same hearing or are these from different hearings?
Well, yeah, it's all within. It was a 2 hour.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Hearing
said that you had pulled stuff from two different things. So if this was all from the same hearing, I think if his was the only presentation or the only testimonial, yeah, then I agree with you 100%. But since it's accompanied with all the other decent ones, I think it's really hard for them to dismiss this. He doesn't premise
Yeah.
or he doesn't start off by saying, I'm a part of the industry / business / community, where the other side is going to dismiss it like, oh, you're in it for the money. So whatever you say is greedy, right? It's not well, it falls in, I guess, with the same kind of emotional appeal of the mother or the victim, where you say, hey, you're trying to disarm a victim. The victim of a crime. You're trying to disarm the person who, would be the victim. And, kind of falls into that. But again, I'm not saying we should lead with these or this should be our only thing, but I think as like an alternative or a juxtaposition or whatever, like, I don't mind it being in there because it shows that we're human, that we're not all just
Yeah.
industry and all the rest.
And I think there's two more. Michael Finley is from the NSSF. So his is a little more, well,
I can't type in there because I'm not logged in with my phone the right way. But no, they're just super tired right now. Otherwise, they'd be super jealous if I'm petting one of them like this.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Michael Finley, and I'm with the National Shooting Sports Foundation. We're the National Trade Association for FFLs, manufacturers, and ranges. I'm here in strong opposition to this bill. Representative Wallen mentioned a couple of goals that they have with this bill. We share those goals. Making sure that inventory is protected, making sure that unauthorized access to firearms does not occur, especially to prohibited folks, making sure that liability insurance is there, and making sure that theft or firearms that end up in crimes does not come from our FFLs. A couple stats that I want to give you is this bill is essentially a solution in search of a problem. Out of all the firearm thefts in the United States per year, 0.17 come from FFLs. We are highly regulated at the federal level. A ATF agent, your DO, can essentially revoke your license at any point in time. We have a lot of problems with this bill, but one of the things is it is duplicative and is cost prohibitive. By our calculations, for 6 years of video on record at any point of time for an average 2,000 to 3,000 square foot store that would require 12 cameras of this bill, would require nearly 4,000 terabits of space. To put that in perspective for you, the cost over 5 years, not 6 years, because they don't calculate that high, would be $3.3 million per store just to comply with this bill. It's absolutely going to put out every dealer in the state, and that's not a sensationalistic thing to say. Additionally, a lot of the things are duplicative within this bill. We have requirements within 20 to 48 hours. It's actually written as when a firearm is known to be lost or stolen from an FFL, you must report it to ATF, which starts the tracing process. There's so many, 90 seconds isn't enough time, but through every one of these things, it is either covered by federal law or it doesn't do anything to help make a store more protected and help make sure that the firearms don't get into the bloodstream in terms of robberies, in terms of thefts. But we want to throw out an olive branch to all of you. Come out to our stores. You're going to hear from FFLs here today that are going to show you their particular plans. And it's not a one size fits all. There are different needs per different space. So if we're truly trying to make sure that firearms aren't being stolen from FFLs and being part of crimes, come with us, work with us. We want to work with you.
I liked his. I like that he said, basically kind of challenged them. Hey, come out and see what we're talking about.
For sure. Yeah, it's a lot of ignorance, in the way that they're unaware, right? Not like they're stupid, but they're ignorant of the situation because they pay no, they just get told from their analysts or whatever, and they have never experienced it at all.
And the NSSF, they have been testifying at the hearings. I've seen them 2 or 3 times now up there.
That's sort of their role, to be an industry liaison with the government.
And then, hang on here. I got it. I was typing something and there we go. I got off the tab I was on. So Heidi Lee, she is the co-owner of Sporting Systems with Dan Mitchell. Dan didn't testify. He was signed up to testify and didn't. Somebody else took his spot, and I didn't show his. He was from a different gun shop because he was kind of a little helter-skelter on his, kind of a little bit, let's say, a disheveled testimony. But I liked hers. I thought she did a good job, and she's got a little defiance in there, which I kind of liked too.
Good morning. My name is Heidi Lee, co-owner of Sporting Systems. I'm the person standing behind you at the local coffee shop and the chair next to you at the hair salon. Our grandkids play on the same soccer team. Not many, if any of you, have been to your local gun store, but instead have perceived an opinion of who I am. Speaking industry-wide, we have federal standards to adhere to and numerous safety protocols already in place, such as bollards, barred windows and doors, treated glass panes, 24/7 security alarms with motion detectors and glass break sensors, additional outdoor lighting, and close relationships with our local LEOs and other systems I cannot discuss for our own security. I've spent a decade building a responsible and lawful firearms store, as many others have. Our staff are trained to work closely with every customer, ensuring a legal transaction occurs. We have an occupancy limit based off the staff on hand to provide a comfortably secure environment. Staff are also trained to listen and observe in their interactions and identify key indicators of a straw purchase. In my 10 years of business, though, I've never had a firearm stolen, nor have any walked out the door by themselves after business hours. As we saw from the soft launch of WSP Safe System, state recommendations have conflicted with federal requirements, putting FFLs in a limbo of compliance. House Bill 2118 is not financially obtainable for small businesses like mine. All your mom and pop shops are slowly closing. The sense of community and safety is being replaced by criminals and drug-induced zombies. But I'll continue to show up for every hearing. I'm not going anywhere. I'd rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud. I urge a no vote on House Bill 2118.
Yep, the succeed by fraud. Well done. Well played.
And the ranking member of the committee, Walsh, he can't remember if he asked the question of her or just made a statement, said, we don't want you. Well, he's a Republican, but he says, we don't want you to fail with honor. We don't want you to fail at all. But, I thought she did a good job where she kind of is humanizing. You know, we are just regular people. We are your neighbors. You know, it's
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Like you've never come in here. You have a perception based on some like, agenda or political strategist, perception. And you don't know. But we're right here next to you. And that's well done. She went a little fast. She probably could have removed like 3 points and gone a little slower to breathe once in a while. But I think they understand that people are trying to get 2 minutes worth.
yeah. And that was the last one that I had. I thought I actually did that twice because I couldn't remember how to download the videos. So I basically recorded it off my desktop, chopped up the videos, made one long video, went back to review it and realized I was listening to my chat while I was editing. And as it recorded this video, it recorded the background noise, the sound that I was listening to also. But luckily, I remembered how to download it, so it made it easier. I could import the one big file and then chop that up rather than having to start and stop and record pieces. So, Gizzard Gary's out there. And I don't know if I said hey to M. Gabriel, but hey. So kind of the other thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of as you had brought up with Austin, when he was where should we be shaping our narrative to match with the anti-gunners? So kind of you see a lot of times where you got emotion from the anti-gunners. They talk about the dead children, and I'm not minimizing the deaths. This is more of a clinical talk. And on the pro-gun side, you'll get a lot of people that just will kind of, no offense, Night Strike, but scream, shall not be infringed. And the in-between, people who maybe don't care about guns, I think those are people that we need to be reaching, but how to reach them? Should we take on a little more of the way that the anti-gunners present to counteract them, or what?
It should be part of the equation. Like how much of it, that's debatable potentially. And it's not like there's a recipe. So, at some points in era or in some points in time, at some eras, it's going to be, necessary to have more of that stuff. And then for other times when people are thinking more logically or whatever, or clinically, like you said, then, the facts and stuff. But I think, just the concept that there's the stark antis and the stark pros that'll never change their mind. And then there's those people in the middle, like in who to target and how. That's one of those conversations that goes on for a long, long time. And since it's, if you who knows what the numbers are, but if let's say you say it's 80% of people in the middle, 10% on each end, or even if it's something smaller like 60% or something, it's still an incredibly large amount of people that are diverse and have essentially the definition of them is they have no interest in this at all. So the only time they're going to get introduced to it is when they're beaten over the head with it in the media. And since we don't own that, it becomes frustrating, and the people on our side either don't have the longevity for the fight, like just the the interest in the long-term fight, or or they're just not able to. People come and go. Like people only have the time to spend on things that aren't directly important to their family or them or whatever. You know what I mean? For when you have that time. So they've got a political agenda on their side, a pretty rich dude who has this interest to keep it going, and then they have the additional benefit of it just distracts from all their other political failures and stuff. So they have an incentive to continue attacking our rights or our property. And on our side, we have just individuals, like I say, we have altruition. Is that the word? I don't forget the word, but nobody's going to stick around forever. There's no incentive to. and there's no ability to on our side. So I don't think we should rule anything out, but we shouldn't switch. We don't need to swing either. Like our rights and property. I say that we shouldn't only do that, but we have to do that. That's the fundamental part of it. And the other side doesn't care about it completely. Like they seriously either don't like the country or they don't like the concept. They see a serious flaw that hurt them somehow, and they're gonna take it down, and they're not even scared. That's their whole focus is to take down the system. So somebody in between, who knows where they're at with that whole part of it. As far as if they even like the idea of rights. So while rights are important, there's people on the other side who seriously don't give up 0% about rights. They just don't. That's not their drive in life. They don't think people have rights. They think that we all owe each other something, and the only way you can do that is to have a society, like a state, interact. I'm ranting. Hey, I hung out with DJ for a week, so I'm going to start DJing all the time.
I think there should be diversity in both how we're presenting it and who is presenting it. More people. It'd be these are packed, usually packed. The hearings are usually packed with people testifying both for and against. So I agree with the people who say the shall not be infringed. It's a constitutional right, and we should not have to be defending it because it is a right. But as a practical matter, we need to defend it because there are enough people that don't care that it's a right. But I think it is good to have a spectrum of people presenting. So it's not all, the Ed Brimley kind of, my diabetes, my guns.
Well, my right, my guns, my hunting, my sports, like whatever, like they just see that all as vices and justifications for your addiction to something that whatever childish, wanting to be like the movies or something. Like they dismiss a lot of this. So I think the grandmas talking about stuff, the moms talking about that. We had a little bit of that from, without getting too deep into it. We had a few like authors, Paxton Quigley. We had Joanna Hupp. No, what's her name? Hupp. Susanna Hupp from the Lubies thing in Texas. So we had some nationally recognized instances of females who were examples of unfortunate examples, but national examples of for the reason guns can be necessary or the reason guns can be defensive. But like literally a couple of 3 ladies, and then by the time 2015 comes around, that starts to change because all these organizations start. And now look at the number of females that testify. So the narrative is definitely getting bigger, but it's including things that are more than just my rights, my property. Now it's like, hey, you want to save just one, potentially just one kid, but you're also being told a very narrow slice of the whole scenario here. So let me offer you some other slices. And I think just like, the antis when they nibble, that kind of nibbling is how you accomplish change, right? We're not going to just be, I don't think there's like some sentence that we can utter that the antis are going to go, oh, I was wrong. Now I understand, right? It's going to take a bunch of little pieces, the same way that they use in the media and whatever, got guns to be non-normalized. We just have to get guns normalized again to where they're not afraid of them. They just understand that, okay, guns are there, but just like a motorcycle or maybe a pickup truck, I'm not afraid of them anymore. I just don't want one.
Yeah. We've got the goddamn bacons out there. And if someone is testifying, the pro-gun testifying, and they mention that they're this or that, LGBT or, a person of color or whatever, that in the parameters of the testimony, I think is good and kind of important, just because it shows that the gun community isn't a monolith of white old guys, which is the perception that gets pushed. To show that diversity that is within the gun community is important, because I've heard criticisms on it that somebody mentioned stuff like that. Well, it's in that aspect, yes, it's I think that's perfectly fine to point out, and so that it's showing that it's gun people are everybody, not just this one thing, this one type. Mr. Knives is out there and chasing ghost. Good evening. Hopefully your flooding's not too bad. I saw that you're talking about flooding. I didn't get a chance to watch the video yet. Kind of sucks. Where I used to live, we would get flooding every year. Luckily, only had it come up to our driveway, but never flooded the house itself. Oh. Is there anything else that I know there's lots we probably could cover, but have we kind of talked this out for now?
Well, like you say, there's probably lots of directions to go. But that's pretty cool that you take the time to check those out. Are you going to post that as a video or something so that it's just like, here's some of the best excerpts or whatever, excerpt or outtakes from the testimonies?
I probably could. It kind of takes effort, and I'm kind of lazy. I'll have to think about it. I never thought about doing that. It's not a bad idea. Tread said he sent some Gorn.
Maybe just bracket it with like an intro and exit, and then a link to this show so that people can see the insightful critique we've given of it. These dogs are also like super sleepy because I was sick, so I've had it like a million degrees in here. It's been like an oven in here. I'm just now turning the fan on to fan only instead of like ultra heat.
It'll take me a second here, Tread, and I'll show what you sent in. I have to send it to myself so I can get it over to my computer.
Is this Canic patch an old one or is this new? Have you done any Smurfs yet?
I did the Papa Smurf, which I don't think I have any of them out here. It's the one that Gary gives away. I gave him some of them because I forgot I had ordered some and ordered some more. So I gave him some of them. Yeah, I don't have any out here.
Gizzard does a show?
Yeah, he does. He only does one show because he's, getting older and doesn't have the energy like he used to. I gotta remember how to forward myself this stuff. There we go. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. That's what I
wanted.
wanted.
A pack or whatever to get out of here, and then started getting super dizzy and started puking and stuff. So went and got the room for another day. $176 for another day.
Oh.
But now that I'm thinking about it, that might be $100 pet deposit that hopefully I get back. So $76 another day.
All right. Ken Thompson's out there. So that's why they want to take it. That's why they cannot be reasoned with. What we consider positive reasons are all the reasons they want to take them. They want chaos, hence leniency on crime.
I think for sure that 10% on the other side are delusional, and they think that, all kinds of weird things that, like some weird land that would happen if guns were not available to people who are law abiding. But it's those people in the middle to reach them. We don't often enough chat up. Well, I think they did in some of the testimonials you focused on here, like as far as how much money it would actually cost to follow through on what they're suggesting. Like they're not rational. They say things just because it sounds good or they've been told to say it. They're punitive, but they're not real. Like they're not realistic, right? They can't. Like I was saying, it cost $3 million to try to comply with this over 5 years. It's ridiculous. So, anyways, those people in the middle, where we don't often enough say, hey, they have these great ideas, but they don't follow through. They don't pay for them. They don't. They actually get paid to put bad ideas up there. So scrutinize, their what's the word, like their agendas or their motivations. I mean, we do kind of, but it's not a pillar that we use regularly.
Okay, here's let me go there we go. Tread sending some pictures. 20-inch Winchester and 44 Magnum, 18-inch Winchester, 444 Marlin. .16-inch Winchester, 44 Mag Trapper, Marlin 56, 22 long rifle.
Mine looks like that 44, but it's a 30-06, or no, it's a 30-30, and I don't put anything on it.
I don't have a lever action. I really want a lever action.
You don't live in, well, you kind of live in the West, but you don't have to. Like if you live in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, you're some kind of heinous if you don't own one. It's like not owning a cowboy hat or something.
He said he would like to find potentially find the correct era sling for the rifle. I'm guessing that's what this last one is. Curious if G-Webs has any info on the sling mount that is on the 1955 or 56 Marlin model 56-22 long rifle.
That thing we're looking at right there?
Yep.
Oh man, I don't anymore. Not after being sick all day and then like I think my new thing for talking about SHOT Show is that it's like pouring a gallon into a cup. Like you can only keep so much, but you got so much poured into you. It's like I'm still kind of in a fog. But I do remember looking at that thing there was a 22 I had when I was a little kid, and I'm pretty sure I saved up for a while to get that because it was quick release, and in the 90s or whatever, the 80s, whenever that was, the quick release was essentially James Bond or like, some kind of special operations thing, because most of us had, our slings physically screwed onto our guns. So I can't remember. I'll try to remember, or I won't remember it. I'll remember when I'm not trying to think of it, like halfway home, I'll remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were pretty awesome. I have no idea. I just know that they existed and there was no plastics back then. There was only metal stuff like that. And I knew they existed, or at least I found out about them. And ever since then, like immediately, I wanted to put them on my guns. So it took me time to save up for them. So I was a little kid. I was a little kid back then. But I have no idea when they were made. They might have been from prior to World War II, for all I know. I don't know if I ever really did any research into them. I just knew that I wanted them. They think they're named after the person, if I'm not crazy. Probably could do an image search. That's a good idea.
He said, can't even find a name for that mounting system. And I think he did try to do his image search.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know like 3 people I could ask, but not here in Vegas. Actually, 2 days ago, I could have gone to the antique gun show and they would have known without even thinking.
I think.
In fact,
Oh,
now that
yeah.
I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure my 122 still has that front sling swivel thing like that on there. I don't know. I must have the sling somewhere, but I'm almost positive I have no idea what this thing is. Uh-oh, somebody was bad. Somebody was bad. They're a bad thing.
This is the Smurf one that I did. The sticker. The sticker I did, it doesn't have the Pappy on the helmet.
Oh yeah, now I remember.
Tread said that's why I asked G-Webs. He did a lot of research on the old stuff. Oh, so hopefully everybody found the video and discussion useful and entertaining. The goal is kind of just to see what other people are doing and maybe inspire you to go and testify at many hearings that you might have in your state. It's important to be heard. There's I put a post up just before we did our chat on my community tab where We the People. It's Glenn Morgan. He does basically stuff in Washington, but his video, I think he put out today, which I linked to, is a good video about I gotta look at it, remember what it was about. Kind of the way that politicians or news articles or stories, the way they're crafted to discourage people from being involved. I thought he did a good job with it. So think about checking it out there.
I seen it, but I think I watched a couple of minutes of it, but I was kind of halfway in and out.
Let me go and I'll put a link for my community tab. Make it easier for people to find. There we go.
That one guy who testified in your links there, or in your examples there, said that he was with, he held a position with the Washington Suicide something or another.
Yeah, the Austin.
Do you know what that group is? More about it?
Yeah, I don't. I remember I talked to him one time and I had just asked him if he was involved with Walk the Talk America. And he wasn't familiar with them. And I, for some reason, didn't tell him more about it. I just said, oh, okay. I was just curious. And then I walked away. And later on, I thought, well, why didn't you tell him about it? Because he told me, yeah, I'm open to work with anybody, to help. But I don't know. I think I was just, for me, it was the end of the day and I was tired and wasn't thinking, but it's potentially a missed opportunity.
2020 hindsight. I wish I had I'll take a dime for every one of those I just did in the last 5 days or whatever. Like that just happens, can't help it.
And to answer Chasing Ghosts, how long are we going to be on? Probably going to close her down here in just
as
a couple
long as-
minutes.
Right after the bracket, right? We'll end the show right after the bracket.
No, I couldn't do the bracket. It has a spider infestation. I left it in the shed, and it got spiders on it. So I need to rinse her off and get all the spiders off.
Can you do a spider bracket? Is that a thing? Or would it creep everybody out?
Well, why don't I do this? Well, we're talking here. Yourwebsites.com for 2A stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. Yourwebsites.com. Is there anything you would like to plug, Mr. G Webs?
I'm not sure what happened. The dog kicked my phone, and now it's. I think I'm still in the room. Am I?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, I don't know where all the screen went, but no, thanks for the link. Brooke will have. Wait, no, what is today? Brooke had her suicide prevention show on earlier this week today, but check that out on Saturdays. If She Fire is going to do it, she'll have her show tomorrow. I can't mute or change my camera, so I don't know what it's doing. I'm just looking at a DuckDuckGo logo. I'm going to resign it.
And Guns and Water, I don't think I said hello, but I did see when you came in the chat. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure that I got you there. So Wednesday will be a mouse party, and then the next Saturday is an off night. But I think that's it. So I hope everybody has a good rest of the night. Just trying to find my outro. I always lose the outro. There we go. Hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.
Still here? It's over. Go home. No.